Okay, this is part 2 to selection, the actually intermediate. We're going to go ahead and fine tune this and then put it out as a selection and mask it. Okay, so first we're going to go back up. I'm going to zoom it in and we're going to look at what we need to do. So that needs to come out some. So I'm going to go down 2 from where I was. So we're going to go to the direct selection tool, which is above this little icon, or actually it might not be that. You might see the rectangle tool. So it's right above, and there's 2 different ones, path selection and direct selection. You want direct selection, so the white arrow. Okay, so I'm going to click on the point that I want to change, and then I'm going to hold it and move it up a little bit, just so I can get the majority of what I need to select. And so I'm going to go through each one of these and try to get that as close to the well, in this case, the head, but as close to the edge of this as I can. And you're going to have to play. I think I told you this in the other video. Just kind of play with these little handles to get the curve that you think would work the best. And there's no real easy way, I guess, to say that. No easy way to do this. You're just going to have to play around until you figure out what's comfortable, what works for you. And once you get used to it, this will be easy. So let me go around again, and again I'm going to move that out a little bit. Okay, so fine-tuning, this is the last bit of selection that I'm going to do, and then from there we're going to put the selection to a mask, like I said earlier. So you see what I'm doing is this is getting right to the edge, and you want to zoom in to do this. Don't try to do this from a distance, because you're not going to see some of this. If you do, you're going to end up with a lot of areas that where either you want or you don't want. So if you want it, it's not there, and if you don't want it, it's actually selected, which will leave a halo effect, and we really don't want that. Okay, so I'm going to select. Whoops. If you lose your point, just like I did, I clicked away, just click back on it and you'll see the points again. Okay, so you see what I'm doing. I think, again, I'm going to do this in a little bit fast motion. Well, not really fast motion, but do this and then come back when I've finished the selection. Only because you see what I'm doing, just like we were doing earlier. It's just you're doing it in little increments. You know, getting that exactly where you want it. And don't be afraid to move these points. Oh, you know what? I told you I was going to add. So here's a good place to add. I want to add an anchor right here. So what I'm going to do is go back over to the pen tool and go to Add Anchor Point Tool. Click on that, and then wherever you want to add that, you just click on the line. You see where that plus comes up? That's where you can do that. So I can do it anywhere on this line where that plus is. So I'm going to put one around here, and then I click, and you notice it put one there. Now I'm going to go back into the pen tool and go to this Convert Point tool, just like we did before, so that I can get this exactly how I want it. Again, you're going to click twice, click once to move it around, and click again to change that, and then I'm going to go back into my Direct Select tool. And then I can change this as needed. See, that just helped that curve just a little bit. And as I said with the apple, you really don't want, you want as little of these as you can get, but don't be afraid to put some there. If you put too many, you don't get these nice rounded corners. It gets a little, you know, I guess choppy is the best word for that. And you don't want that either. So let me just get this. Okay, so from here, now you got a kind of a gist of what I'm doing. I am going to pause the video and finish this selection, and then we'll move on from there. Okay, now that I've fine-tuned it, I've kind of made it as close as I can to the edge, and I showed you earlier how to do that. We're going to move on and do the selection. So let me zoom out. Now, if you remember when we were doing the drawing along the path, we're going to go into this paths area right here. Make sure you're in the layer that we're working with, which actually I should have called that whatever, or named it something different. We don't want to work in the background. Make sure you're on that layer and then go to paths. You're going to see this here like we did before, and what we want to do is in here, the paths, when you select anything in the paths, it only selects what is white. So you see this area is white, and this is exactly where we have this. So in order to turn this into a selection, we want to hold down the Control command or Command on Mac, and then click on it. And now that creates this selection. So from here we have the selection we want. So let's go back to the layers and into this layer, and just like we did before, we're going to mask. So when I mask, see, it took out all the black, and now what we're seeing is, like I said before, we're going to see the white underneath. And you can see some areas. See, this is what I mean by a little bit crispy. It's looks like it's fake, like it doesn't fit in. Depending on the background, that can change. If you're going to have it on a white background, that definitely needs to change. But in reality, you're most likely going to put this within a background, maybe some different lighting. The lighting is coming straight on. That's why you can see the shadow on the sides. In order to take care of that, we can actually go back in and change the actual selection itself. So let's select this. Now we have the selection again, and there's a couple different ways you can do that. I'm going to go back into this one. We can go into the select and do the select and mask. Which works. The problem with doing it this way is when you already have a mask, it causes some issues. So what I'm going to do first is from this, I'm selecting on this, and I'm going to hit the Command J or Control J, and it, oops, sorry, I hit the wrong button. Oh, here we go. So it just puts it in its own layer. So for the sake of being able to to do this, I'm going to turn this one off and again select here, and I got my selection. So from here I can actually go in and create another layer, select and mask. And we've done this before. It somewhat works. They changed it around some, so it doesn't do exactly what I needed to. But we need this halo effect to go away, and you can see it under the black. It shows that. But we're going to go down here and hit the on white. If yours doesn't show up white, it shows a more gray or clear. It's this opacity. Make sure that's all the way up. And I'm going to go to Smart Radius, which takes the radius of what I'm going to change and makes it either bigger or smaller. At this point, it's making it at 10 pixels. I'm going to hit the Show Edges so you can see the edges of where that's at. And I'm going to go change some things. So the first thing I think I'm going to do is bring the shift edges in some. It will shift the edges literally in so that maybe I can get rid of that halo that way. I'm going to take up the contrast a little bit. I am going to feather a little bit. I'm going to actually do that maybe at about 5 pixels. Smooth it a little bit. And you notice you're not seeing too much. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. In this case, we're not. So then I'm going to take off the show edges. It takes a minute because it's a big file size. I forgot to bring it down some. And then you can kind of see what's going on as you do it. I can feather it a little bit more. So now you see when I feathered a little bit more what it did take it in some. So from here I think I want to take the shift edges a little bit further in, and that'll just help a little bit with that halo effect. Let's try it on black to make sure it's fine on black. Okay, so let's... Okay, so there you go on black. So that seems to work. It worked good on white and it worked good on black. So when you're done, I want to change this instead of selection. I want a new layer with layer mask. Click that, and I can hit remember if I want, and it'll always stay on this one. But that's okay. I'm going to leave it as it is. And hit OK. So now here's your selection. If I turn, so you see the white and you see the selection. Now I have my selection, and I've taken all the black out. So that's how you do using the pen tool. And I know I've showed you several different ones up here of how to select. This one is just more refined. I got all these little areas that it would be hard for me to do with one of these others. Granted, that was a picture. We could have probably done this using this quick selection tool, but I needed to show you how to work the pen tool. So that's it for part 2, and I will move on to the next video.